Hey everybody, I'm doing another how I did this clip, kind of a way to show how I'm coming along here with Tahoma 2D and bringing the YouTube Cafe back together. Uh, Today the goal is to create a new stage, and actually it's not really create a new stage, it's to bring the James Hoffman's side of the cafe stage back so that whenever they are talking across the counter you can see him talking to Morgan and JP and Chatbot or whoever it is that's standing on the other side of the counter. So what you're watching me do here is bring these files in, and these are all PNGs again, drawn over the last year or so. These were all drawn in Adobe Illustrator. I'm bringing in a background and a door. That door is not being used for this particular clip, but if it's there, it's ready to be used whenever I do need it. And what you're seeing me do here is I'm going through and changing the name of the doors parts. There's a lot of ways that I could have done this. It would have probably been easier to do this with an object like a skew or something like that. I could have skewed that to a little line within the animation, but for some reason I decided to draw out the frames and then I sequenced the name of it. So the software, if I named it door.0001 through however many that was there, and then pulled the one in, you'll see that it automatically brings all the sequence in and it plays the door open sequence. So I'm going to drag those out a little bit just to make it to where it's every other frame that it moves, so it's a little bit slower. And then I'll copy that sequence and paste it right back behind itself so that it opens and closes. And then if I want the door, if I want somebody to come in and out of the door now, all I would have to do is make them appear in the opening, and then run those few frames of animation there to have them come through it. So that works, but I'm not really interested in making anybody come through there today, so I just set it up. Previously there was, I believe it was raining in the background, and there was a little bit of sky and maybe ground available or visible. This time I just drug in a street lamp to make it visible through the windows. I probably should have put a sky in because that white background shows through whenever it's rendered. Like wanting to bring in tables and chairs, have that going on in the background. Who said we can't be liberated? I said, who said we can't be made? Who said we can't be free? Who said? Now you can see all you really have to do is just drag the PNGs onto the stage, and then make sure that you are on the object manipulation tool. I'm not real sure what it's called, but it's up to the top left corner. You can see that little purple icon up there. That's highlighted. That is the tool that's selected. And if you have that set to all, that's also up there at the top left corner. And it gives you the option to make it just do resizes or scaling or position changes where you can move it around, or rotation, or you can do all of them. And I just kind of leave it at all generally, unless there's something that's really small or hard to manipulate. You can't get a hold of the controls real easily, so I just separate them out using that tool. But usually it's on all. It looks like I was doing a little bit of parenting there. Sometimes when you do the parenting, it's hard to tell what's what. I haven't quite figured out how to manipulate all those boxes there to exactly tell who's who. It gives you a few letters, but if it's a long name or fairly long name, then it doesn't really give you enough of it to tell what it is. So I did see that you could pop open a little picture of it, but it took me a while to figure out how to do that. I think I figured that out though today. I was messing with this. I think you see me open it up a few times in there. You're like, oh, you can do this. Figure out what that was. The next thing I wanted to do was duplicate those groups, those subscenes. So that I'm going to call those columns. The chairs are each a column and the table is a column. I collapsed those into a subscene, and I'm looking to duplicate those. So that's what you're seeing here. So that's we'll call that table 2, and then I do it again, and you make table 3. Now I got 3 copies of the table subscenes, and now I'm going, or attempting to go into the individual subscenes, and I want to make a little bit of variation in it because they all look exactly the same. And I drew different chairs, so I can swap out chairs, or you can just move the chairs that are there around if you like, reverse a chair. But you see, whenever I'm manipulating them, they kind of all go together. So in some way they're still linked. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. That doesn't happen in Adobe Animate, where you copy groups of objects like that. So I wasn't quite sure what happened. So you see me kind of looking around in here, trying to decide what's going on. Eventually what I decide to do is to explode the group. So I collapsed the group, and now I exploded the group so that they're back into the main scene on they call it the X sheet, I believe. So I'm going to get rid of the chair I don't want, and then drag in a different chair. like I still haven't figured out a better way to reorder the columns. For some reason, whenever I go and just grab one and try to drag it up and down, it doesn't appear to move. So I'm just copying and pasting the columns back into the places I want them, deleting it from the places I don't want it. And here again, you can see the two that I have not exploded are still linked in some way. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So I take table 2 and I explode that, and all the pieces come back out into the main scene. And now I can go back up there. The H is it will do a horizontal reverse, and the V will do a vertical reverse if you just put a negative behind that 100 that's up there. That's all I did there. But now the tables look a little bit different. They don't look like I exactly copied and pasted them so much. I don't know why that was so difficult to do there. But they were, for some reason, grouped and linked together somehow, and I'm not sure how that happened. I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. Set up a new file name for, I believe, although whatever directory you started the project in, the project folder, you have to save all your scenes there, and it gives me that error there. So part of my workflow involved manipulating various scenes within a project, and I had figured out how to manage that within one file and animate, but I haven't even tried to do that here in Tahoma yet. I just opened a whole new file whenever I wanted the second scene. I think I am understanding what's going on there, so I might try to get that set up. But you should be able to put all of these scenes within one project rather than save several projects. Now it looks like I'm about to bring in James Hoffman. I'm going to set up the James Hoffman character puppet. So, what I learned from the last time I set up the character in parenting was that it was beneficial to bring all the pieces in together. So that's how you're going to see me do this here. Right now I'm just adding in some columns because all these pieces are going to have their own column. Now, see, this time as I go through, I'm going to organize the pieces into the columns where they belong, so one's on top of another, but I'm not going to bother with where they land. Bring all the pieces to an arm in, a left bicep. Actually, I only have a left bicep. If you look at the file there, I just bring two left biceps in and turn one into a right bicep by by hitting that negative H to make a reverse, to reverse the image. So then I bring in a left and a right bicep, and then I come in and bring in a left and a right forearm. And you come back and you bring in a left and a right hand. What you have to go and leave me. What you have to run. You're going to open the schematics viewer and connect the shoulders to the body. If you see what I just did there, I'm connecting the bits to the scene. So I don't know why I would ever need to do this with this particular scene, but if you connect all, if you connect all of your parts to your main stage, if you were ever to shrink your main stage for some reason, then everything would scale along with the main stage. Connect the shoulder, do the parenting there. And the schematics, now the shoulder is connected to the forearm. I'm sorry, the shoulder is connected to the body, and then the forearm is connected to the shoulder. You can see as I start moving stuff around here, they're starting to move together. And the hand is now connected to the forearm too. I'll change the origin point with that symbol there so that it'll rotate from that spot. There it is. Now you click on the shoulder. I'm not going to bother to test it. I'm just going to move forward and assume it all works, I guess. That's all right. Drag a head in. So I bring the completed head in just as so I can see how the eyes line up to the nose and whatnot, so that it pretty well looks the same each time. I think I bring the right set of eyes in there with the sequence in there. And again, I'm not going to mess with where they lay. Bring the right brows in, sequenced brows. Bring his glasses in, and they all kind of lay on top of each other. I'm going to go and look for the mouths, which I got pre-drawn mouths. You can see I don't like the way that those are lined up there, so I go back through and decide to rename these the proper names so that they land in the software the way they're supposed to. There's a particular order that you're supposed to do these in. Maybe I'll put it in the description. I think Hanna-Barbera needed 6 Visemes to make their characters work back in the day. Now I think that there are up to 15. I'm not 100% certain about that. I could be wrong. This software requires 10, and it is a very specific 10. It wants them in a specific order too. can see it. I'm trying to decide what that last mouth shape is supposed to be here. I believe the last mouth shape was supposed to be M. M and neutral look pretty much the same. So you watch as I come through here and look at that neutral one. I just make a copy of it and then number it the right number to work within the sequence. Alright, parenting the parts of the head. And I just parented that, just my template there, and then I unparented it because I don't need it. Now I'm going through and connecting everything to the head. Eyes, brows, mouth, glasses, everything's connected to the head. And then I connected the head to the body. And then I come through, now I can go through and put all these bits and pieces where they belong. Look at the template over there and try to get the eyes about where they are, spaced about where they are around the nose and the ears there. Same thing with the eyebrows, try to get it as best I can. Get the glasses where they go. Get rid of the template and put the head where it belongs. Put the puppet into the scene where I want it. Back through and set up blinks and eyebrow movement and things like that. I kind of touched on this the last time, but I'll do it again. That way you don't have to watch another 2-hour video. But the blinks and all that, you can set up to where they go through a cycle. And I usually look at the first 15 or 20 seconds. All my clips are a minute. To fit the YouTube shorts at this point. So if I cycle through 15 seconds, then not very likely with a few characters and lots of stuff going on, you're probably not going to notice that cycle happening. So I make him blink a couple times in 15 seconds, or make his eyebrows change position a couple times for 15 seconds, and then I loop that for the remainder of the clip. Here's a quirk of the software that I have not figured out. It's how to add frames to the end. Very easily. I'm sure that there's a better way. See, I just keep dragging it out there. It works, but it's kind of slow. And if you want to get, I'm looking to get a minute at 24 frames a second. That's like 1560 frames. So dragging that out to 1560 frames. Well, you'll see it takes a little bit of time because I'm going to have to do that with the first one. Now, once I get the first one drug out that far, all the rest of them are a little bit quicker, because it's already that far. But I haven't figured out a quicker way to do that. And animate, it was pretty easy. You can just run it out that far and then tell it to fill. I haven't quite figured out how to do that with this one. out to 1560 frames. Now keep in mind that all of these different positions are just different PNGs. So all it's doing is flipping between the PNGs that I set up for the sequence. I have 3 different eyebrow PNGs, so it'll make 3 different eyebrow movements for me. If I was to draw this in the software, I could use the software to create pretty much an infinite variety of shapes with it, and actually tween the shapes, so he wouldn't make hard movements between one movement and one shape and another. He would actually move between one movement and another. So that's the difference between what I'm doing here and drawing it in the software using these pictures. So you can see there again, I'm dragging this back out so it'll last the whole frame. It'll keep cycling through that first 15 or 20 seconds worth of eyebrow variations that I set up. Now this is a little different because now I'm setting up keyframes for the head, and the keyframes for the head are movements of the images themselves. So it's not changing the images out, it's changing things about the image. Right now it's changing basically the rotation and maybe the position a little bit too. And then I told it to cycle for the rest of the way through there. So I did set up 10 or 15 seconds and then told it to cycle. Now I'm going to go down, and sometimes you'll do the arms too, but I did not do anything with the arms with this puppet. I just got him in there. So, but I did give him a little bit of body movement, which sometimes it can get excessive, and James Hoffman is not necessarily an excessive. Like if you watch Mr. Beast or Mr. Ballin, they just squirm every which way. James Hoffman's not that way. He's not so squirmy, so too much squirming in there would be a little bit unnatural for that particular character. Didn't stop me from doing it though. Fairly simple. Put the point of origin down there at his feet and then give him a little bit of rotation. The automatic tweening that comes in Tahoma would cause him to slowly move from one point to the next if I didn't put the points in pairs. So you put a stop point and a start point in. For each of those movements with the body and the head. That way it doesn't make slow movements from one to the other. It'll sit there still and then move to where you want to, when you want it to. So it's going to move between the small ones and sit still between the long ones. See how that moved across the small gap there, and it doesn't move in the big gap. So now I'm coming in and I've got lines for the characters, and I'm going to drop James Hoffman's audio lines in. I actually spent some time watching videos about audio, and the videos were less than helpful. I don't know if I did not understand what I watched, or if
I feel
what
a bit
I watched
apprehensive
was
after getting stuck in
not
the
quite
last
the
video
experience I'm
clip.
getting. It could also be the differences between OpenToonz
Video clip.
and Tahoma. I am using Tahoma, and a lot of the videos are about OpenToonz. Technically, they're different softwares, so I did learn that you can split the audio files up this way, because it splits the audio files up into the frames, which is pretty cool.
Stuck in the last video clip. Even with the best plans laid out, we sometimes find reality falls short of expectations.
And in the final line, we'll find the spot where the final line needs to be dropped. The James Hoffman voice is the David Attenborough from Fake You. David Attenborough is one of the better voices from Fake You. It works so easily.
Reality falls short of expectations, but this time we seem to have found a little success, if I am not being presumptuous.
And now you go back through and
I'm not being presumptuous.
I have no clue what I'm looking at there. Oh, alright. So for that last line, I decided I wanted to create a little bit of a shrug to go with his last line. So I put a start point for each shoulder. Now the motion is going to stop at that spot, at that point. So put the other keyframe. Now the motion is going to stop there.
I'm not being presumptuous.
And I'm going to go back at the end of the line, and then I just put it back down. And then I'll give him a little bit of a shrug. Put the stop point, and then a little bit later, a couple frames later, you put in a start point, and then you put in a stop point. Make him shrug. Here we are looking at the Visemes. Since I labeled them correctly and got them in the right order, all we got to do is tell it to sync to the proper audio, and I only have one audio, so that was pretty simple on this one. One line of audio, I should say. I don't have multiple lines of audio.
Hey Morgan. Hey chat. Hey chat. I feel chatbot or actually chatbot. I think
I'm trying to get rid of the audio skin or something right there. sure. I'm not sure what I was up to there. I think I was after the onion skin. You see the mouth disappear because the frame disappears at the end. For some reason it does this whenever I set the Visemes. I tell it to run it out, the little checkbox at the end. Maybe I need to stop pushing that checkbox box. I thought that was so it would run it out, but I could be wrong because it did that both times with all my characters. Or all 3 times with all 3 of my characters today. Because I had 3 characters who got lines today. So it looks like I got James Hoffman and his line set up in his new stage. And I'm setting up for a render here. I'm mistaken. I'm setting the camera up here. So I had to go into the render scene to set up the camera aspect ratio. I think I could have probably done that when I set the file up, but I missed those lines. So I went back in and I did it there on the render frame, on the render menu. It will allow you to reset your camera aspect ratio. So I set it to the YouTube Shorts aspect ratio so that these will upload nicely. And now I'm going back into the render. I fixed the camera. Back in, you're going to go in and make sure that the file goes where you expect it to go, and you want to make sure to name it what you want to name it. You want to make sure the file type was selected. I think by default, whenever you open these up, it goes out as an AIF, or I'm sorry, not an AIF, but a TIFF, which is a ton of pictures and it takes up a ton of space. So you want to make sure it goes out as the type of file that you want it to go out as. I just pick MP4. Some folks are picky about that. I don't mind some compression on mine because I don't have high quality artwork in there that's being destroyed. Take a peek at it now just to see what we got. Find the file.
Hey Morgan, hey chatbot. I feel a bit apprehensive after getting stuck in that last video.
Okay, you can definitely tell there's something going on there. And after looking at it for a couple seconds, I realized that if you look over there in the bottom left corner, you've got the render is not selected. So that is, that outside is the render, and one next to it is the build. So if you want to hide it from your build, you click the one to the right of the render. If you want to hide it from your render, you click the render. So that's what happened there. I must have accidentally clicked that at some point in time, and it made the cafe disappear, and I did not realize until after we rendered it. So back to the render. See what it looks like now. There you go.
Hey Morgan, hey chatbot. I feel a bit apprehensive after getting stuck in that last video clip. Even with the best plans laid out, we sometimes find reality falls short of expectations. But this time we seem to have found a little success, if I am not being presumptuous.
He jerks around a little too much, but he does what he's supposed to do. So here's where some planning and a little understanding of the file structure for software would be handy, because you can set up a project and have multiple scenes, and that's handy because you can do batch renders and things like that, and you can switch between scenes. I'm guessing it's probably a little bit easier on the processor than having multiple projects. I don't know that for a fact, but it's probably a little better to have it opening it up in the way it's designed. But I don't know how to use all that quite yet, and it's going to take some playing around with it to figure it out. So I simply opened up 2 projects so that I could get the 2 sides of the 2 stages of my cafe. So now you're looking at, I'm going to rename this thing to go along with the Jane Hoffman lines. Last week I set this stage up a little bit at a time. So now all I gotta do is fix the characters to go along with this particular skit. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to delete the old lines. Go into each of the characters that had lines. Her sub scene, and there is her lines and her Vizemes for that line. I don't see any other lines on there, nothing like that, so I'm going to get that and delete that. And she is the first character on this scene to have a line, so come in a little ways again, so that you can snip off the intro, work that in. Get it blended together. And we're going to drop her lines in.
No reason to fret, James. We've been here all week and things have been coming together.
So again, I watched videos about working with audio in OpenToonz, and it looked like it should be fairly simple and straightforward, but for some reason I'm having difficulties with Tahoma. I did find a source that said it won't play the files embedded into
Whatever
sub scenes.
difficulties you had are behind you.
So I'm not sure what to think about that. Go in and set up her Vizemes.
No reason to fret.
I'm going to go ahead and check her audio, make sure I get the right line, because there might be already audio in there.
No reason to fret, James. No
So it's good to go to the end of the line there. Oh, I'm copying the audio line for her. Paste it at the top of the X sheet. That way it gets it out of the sub scene and it'll play it.
No reason to fret, James. We've been here all week and things have been coming together. Whatever difficulties you had are behind you.
The suggestion was to open up the sub scene, but I don't know how to open up multiple sub scenes. And what if you have multiple characters with lines? So do you have to open up all those sub scenes to make that work? Or are you supposed to put the lines only in the main X sheet? And it's something to figure out for sure. I'm going to put the marker at the end of Morgan's lines and then go into Chatbot, and Chatbot go into that subscene, and you can see where, make sure you know where the end was, because I'm going to have to move it again. You see that I paid attention to that. Delete those. Go back to that frame that it was at. That way Chatbot will talk right after Morgan. Drag Chatbot lines in.
I spoke with OpenToonz about your ordeal last week.
We'll say that Tahoma ran a little bit rough whenever I had both of these open.
your ordeal last week. It said that it would render your video because the video stinks.
You can actually see it. It's like that red indicator down there is telling you that it's dropping frames to keep up. If it stayed green, then it was playing all the frames, but the computer is dropping frames so that it can keep up.
OpenToonz said it simply could not be part of putting that steaming pile together.
So that it can keep up with the playhead.
I spoke with
Chat scenes they were already set up, so this is all real simple for them. Drop the lines in, set the Visemes up, and there they are. Go out to the end, because for some reason it cuts here's Chatbot's mouth off at the end there. Get rid of that last frame, and it'll fill it into the end then. Yeah, copy Chatbot's lines too, because they won't play if they're in the subscene. Whenever you're out there in the main X sheet. Paste Chatbot's lines in here. Now, for some reason, it'll only play one line of this, and when I've seen the videos, that guy brought in 3 and had no problems playing his 3 lines, so I don't know what the difference is there, but I found a workaround, sort of. I don't know if this is the best thing to be doing or what, but basically you just come and copy those frames where that audio is at. Off that line. That's not working. If I can get it figured out here. In here for those lines. It kept giving me an oddball menu there for those lines. I'm sorry, for those frames on that column. And I've got to see what happens here whenever I choose a different frame. See how it's giving me different menus there for the different frames. It gives me a different menu. And that goes back to the right menu. So I just go out to the end and tell it to insert what I copied, and that takes care of the problem. Probably was not the like the professional way to go about doing that.
Behind you.
I spoke with OpenToonz about your ordeal.
Because the audio is giving me difficulties. If anybody has any tips or tricks on the getting the audio properly, because the videos don't really talk about the audio in the subframe. I found that on like Reddit or something like that. So now you got to imagine if you was looking at this scene from this direction, you would see the back of James Hoffman. bringing James Hoffman, the back of James Hoffman in. Oh, that, I just found the head. Now you come back and look for the body. Parenting the head to the body there. And there he goes. I got the back of James Hoffman now in there. Get him scaled to where he looks like he's supposed to be, where he be in there. Now you see that when I build these rigs, I don't bother with any bone structures, any apertures or anything like that. And 3D modeling there's to make a like a motion capture for a character move. There's 52, I believe, apertures or points that are tracked to make all the bits and pieces move. So it's pretty it can get pretty in depth, but with the limited amount of motion that I use for these characters when they're talking here, I don't require any drivers or anything like that to create motion. I just use cycles, so it's fairly simple just to use parenting. Trying to get him in the place I want. And again, you see that I got it kind of on the wrong spot because the coffee mug is there on his shoulder on the wrong side of him. So I'm going to collapse James Hoffman, and then because I don't know how to just drag him up there to above the coffee mug, I will copy him and then delete him and paste him into the spot that he should have been. So there he is. Now, here's an aspect of Tahoma that is really neat. Animate didn't do this so nicely. So, because everything is parented on the Morgan puppet to her body, I dropped James in there. I want to be able to see Morgan a little better, so I just want to move her over. All that mouth stuff and all the everything just decides it goes with the body automatically. If I had tried to do that in Animate, all the parts would have come apart as the next keyframes, because a keyframe in Animate becomes a literal save state, where it seems like in Tahoma it allows more relative save states. It gives you a save state that's relative to that object. Making his head move a little bit. Because I'm making the object change rotation, I'm not actually changing the object. It's creating keyframes for the rotation of that object. When I get 10 or 15 seconds, I can get out there and tell it to cycle and just do that sequence of keyframes until the end of the skit. Out to the end, so that's the time it runs out and loops to, and then I tell it to repeat. Now I got to set up the camera. You gotta delete the keyframes from the previous skit that was loaded into the stage. And then you put the camera in there. Now, I haven't done it a whole lot yet because a lot of my focus has been basically just to get bits and pieces of the software understood and to try to bring pieces back into these stages at this point. But with the camera, you can become more cinematic with it, make it pan in and out, and make it switch frames a lot quicker than what I'm doing. But those are things that I might do whenever the focus becomes on making things a little bit more cinematic, not just getting it together. But here, even here, you see that I kind of throw a couple of camera movements in, and then I don't even bother to make sure that it works, so it gets cut out in the end. And when I say by it works, that the software generally does what it's told to do, but what you learn whenever you do these animations is things will move a lot slower or faster than what you anticipate. So, like, I set up these camera movements to happen.
No
here.
reason to fret, James.
And
We've been here all week and things have been coming together.
Rendered,
whatever difficulties you had are behind you.
I spoke with OpenToonz about your ordeal last week. It said that it would render your video because the video stinks.
I just cut it out.
OpenToonz said it simply could not be part of putting that steaming pile together.
It's a little difficult to see, but that red box that's up on the screen indicates the camera, what the camera is going to output, if that's not clear already. Yeah, you can see there, I'm messing around trying to figure out a little bit of timing on basically a zoom out from the main characters across the cafe onto the seated characters, onto the customers. And you can count the frames and guess it. I don't know that should take a second, or it should take a half a second, but you find that whenever you see it, it never looks quite like you think it does. So you can make those changes to it and keep and adjust. So whenever I render it, which is what I'm doing here, I'm setting up for another render here, making sure that I get it saved where I want it to be saved. Whenever you render it and you see something that you don't like, or if you play it in the preview and you see that you don't like it, you can always move those keyframes around to stretch out the time that it takes for it to happen. So I sped these renders up. They show on the screen for a little bit, but this is going to disappear pretty quickly here. I certainly sped these renders up, and I think that one took somewhere around 40 minutes to render that clip. And I rendered the whole 1560 frames, I could have told it to render just the frames I needed, and it would have saved some time. But I did not.
No reason to fret, James. We've been here all week and things have been coming together. Whatever difficulties you had are behind you.
I spoke with OpenToonz about your ordeal last week. It said that it would render your video because the video
But it was
stinks.
a 40-minute
OpenToonz said it simply could not be part of putting that steaming
that
pad
wasn't really the
together.
goal of the project here, so it's not necessary to have it in the clip. And the second one that I panned across was a little better. Now we're done with Tahoma. Got raw animations exported from the animation software. So you open up DaVinci. What the heck is that called? There it is, DaVinci Resolve. I got my audio files in here, so I wind up and pull up, and it's got the correct settings and things for the exports and all that stuff. So I pull up an old file and then just resave it, rename it, and save it. I kind of do this every time, but I am not in the editor. Cleaning up the original. Turn off some of the thing there. It's got that door open test that doesn't need to be on there. And take those frames out. It's not really a big deal. It's just a weird thing. Take it off.
Hey Mom, hey chat bot. Hey Mom. Hey Morgan, hey chat bot. I feel a bit apprehensive after getting stuck in that last video clip. Even with the best plans laid out, we sometimes find reality falls short of expectations. But this time we seem to be seeing out.
I was just taking a guess as to about where he was going to, where the audio would overlap. Probably could have planned this out better if you wanted to, but something, it's just, you know, you can make it set up. It doesn't really make much difference in the end, you know, so it's, you don't worry about the mechanics of it too much, but the idea was that that last phrase or so, you were looking at him from behind as he said it, rather than looking at him in the face. So he says the first couple phrases, and the last phrase or so he says from behind. So I'm offsetting the audio and the video from the two clips so that that happens here. If I'd have given the Morgan character more I could have given her a little bit more time before I started the clip, or I could have hacked a section out of that clip and copied it and pasted it in there a few times to add more time to it. Or I could have hacked a section of it out and then stretched the time, done a time stretch on it. So there's no audio on that clip. It's on that clip is the audio. The audio is on the other clip. But you see, whenever I drag the two together, there's still a gap. So it's like there's that last phrase, and it's like, whoop. So I could have planned that out, but it's not really a big deal. I just close it off there. Like I said, it's one of those things that probably in the end, whenever that happens, you'll see here that timing is
but this time we seem
somewhat
to have found a
negligible.
little success, if I'm not being presumptuous.
Says the last few words
No
that
reason
way,
to fret, James.
and then
We've
Morgan
been here all week and
responds.
things have been coming together. Whatever difficulties you had are behind you.
I spoke with OpenToonz about your ordeal last week. It said that it wouldn't render your video because the video stinks.
You gotta make sure
OpenToonz said it simply could not be
that
part
dark
of putting
patch, you
that
won't
steaming
render that
pile
if you don't
together.
pull that out. Audio that was in there. Get match up there. I opened that file just to save that little piece of audio in there. I could have easily just dragged it right back in. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It also saved my all my file settings, like the aspect ratio and the export settings, all the stuff. So all that stuff is still there too. I think you could have probably set up a template or something like that and been better off. Fade out, a couple seconds of fade out. I've used this file a few times, so there's some extra bits and pieces in there, so I drag the ones I need out to where they need to be. The keyframes, that is. So the audio fades out, and you see the extra ones in there, so just go through and delete those. Make it a little tidier. So that appears to be DaVinci is pretty straightforward, and it's nice and easy to use.
Hey
Look
Morgan.
at it. What
Hey
looks like in
chatbot.
DaVinci real quick.
I feel a bit apprehensive after getting stuck in that last video clip. Even with the best plans laid out, we sometimes find reality falls short of expectations. But this time we seem to have found a little success, if I'm not being presumptuous.
No reason to fret, James. We've been here all week and things have been coming together. Whatever difficulties you had are behind you.
I spoke with OpenToonz about your ordeal last week. It said that it wouldn't render your video because the video stinks. OpenToonz said it simply could not be part of putting that steaming pile together.
Yep, it is what you expect. And now I'm going through and you go to the render menu, and we are rendering. Make sure it goes where I want. And it's called what I want it to be called. Alright, nice. The DaVinci did what it needed to do. And here is what
Hey
the
Morgan.
final product looks
Hey
like.
chatbot. I feel a bit apprehensive after getting stuck in that last video clip. Even with the best plans laid out, we sometimes find reality falls short of expectations. But this time we seem to have found a little success, if I am not being presumptuous.
No reason to fret, James. We've been here all week and things have been coming together. Whatever difficulties you had are behind you.
I spoke with OpenToonz about your ordeal last week. It said that it wouldn't render your video because the video stinks. OpenToonz said it simply could not be part of putting that steaming pile together.
Yep. And there we have it. So that's a fairly quick and straightforward way to set your characters up. You've got to draw them in Inkscape or Illustrator, or you